y'all, hope you're doing good today. So in today's message, I want to share an inspired message that came to me. And so I love these kind of messages because it's not something that I'm trying to force. I feel like it's just something that was placed on my heart. And so because of that, it feels important. So I hope you enjoy it. So yesterday, if you didn't see my other videos, I shared a story from my Shakespeare book, and which I know this is the cover, all the text is wearing off and the picture's wearing away as well, but fortunately on the inside is still good. But I shared the story, Much Ado About Nothing, and I spent a full hour, you can see my video, it's out there public for now, with my brand new microphone set on the echo option and didn't know it. So I've learned to start doing a mic check, and which I did one before this, so we should be good. But I wound up making a second video yesterday because it just irritated me so bad, and it was abbreviated. It was just me walking, if you didn't see, and recalling what I could of the story and sharing what I could remember from my notes, right? So I would love to know if you have watched both of those videos yesterday, which is super rare for me to post two in one day, right? But I felt like I needed to, really more for me. It just bothered me so bad. But if you watched both videos, I would love to hear your thoughts on which format you prefer. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear if you feel called to share. Okay, so on that note, my daughter has this really cute show that she likes to watch, and it's called Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom, and it's super cute. And I've been wanting to mention it on my videos for some time if you've got kids in your life, because it's available on YouTube, and it's just a really cute show for kids. It's all about fairies and elves, and they live together. You have the fairy kingdom and the elf kingdom, and you get to see the differences in them, and like the elves live in trees, and it's so cute. But I was thinking about that today, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta remember Ben and Holly. But so that's one note, just super cute and really cool illustrations too, if you're into that kind of graphic style, childlike illustrations. I personally enjoy looking at all the imagination on display in the art, right, in the cartoon. But kids can watch these shows like this for hours on end, right? Like even if you're like with my daughter, we don't sit and watch for hours on end, but she will have it playing, and she doesn't want to change it while we're actually playing, in the living room or whatever. But they just don't get bored with it, And so I started thinking, because I was thinking that was a lot of Shakespeare for me in one day yesterday, between reading and filming and making the notes and then filming again. It was just like, that's a lot of Shakespeare. But I was thinking about how, if you watch a movie or you read a book, and then in the future you watch the same movie or you reread the same book, how it can have a totally different impact on you. Isn't that so interesting? And if you think about it, what changed? Because we know the movie didn't change. We know that the book didn't change, so it has to be you, right? Or me, rather. It's like we're the ones that change. And so because of that, it has a different impact on us. And that's going to be part of the inspiration for the message, okay? So, yes. Oh yeah, I wrote too that I want to start looking more into actual fairy tales and folklore recorded all throughout different cultures throughout time, and just see what kind of insights we can glean from those. And the art as well, that's my kind of art. I really like fun, imaginative, whimsical type of art. I have nothing against photorealism, but it's just not my personal style. I just like to get really creative with it. So, but we're going to look at those kind of stories pretty soon, and see what we can glean from those too. So just be looking out for that, especially as we head into October for Halloween. So, and on that note, whether it's a fairy tale or a book or a movie, whatever it is, right? Usually, as an adult at least, on the second or third pass, when you've rewatched it or reread it, okay, you typically pick up things that you swear were not there the first time. And so this is where, you know, you can notice the shift in you, okay? And let me give you an example. So in this most recent story that I shared yesterday, Much Ado About Nothing, I had to get all the way through the story, and then as I was making my notes and I was really having to think about the characters, this theme of brotherhood started to really pop out at me. And for whatever reason, when I was reading it, it just I didn't catch it. But I think it was when I was looking up the etymology of the word, or the label, or the title, friar, because of that one character that was just subtly mentioned. And it was talking about a brotherhood, you know, being a part of a spiritual brotherhood. And I thought, okay. So then I started recalling, you know, the other characters and how there were brothers who had returned from war, you know, in the military sense. And then there were actual brothers to some of the characters. So it's just really this strong theme of brotherhood. And I didn't catch it when I read it. So just, you know, as an example. So let me share, let's go ahead and pause here. I want to share a quote from my Zen book with you all, which I have misplaced. And it's right here. Okay. So, and I'm actually reading from the 2023 book, but I'm looking at today's date, and I have the date right today. So the last time I did this, I had the date wrong, but September 20th. So this is from Jane Rosen, who, based on my very brief research, I found to be an artist who's inspired by nature. Okay, so this is what she said. It really resonated with me. So her quote is, "Seeing isn't what we think it is. What we call seeing is looking. Looking is when you go out and you look at something. You have a number of facts about that thing, and you put them together as a mental construct. When students in my class look at the model, often they are not seeing it. Paul Klee said to his students, 'Yes, I want to draw what I see, but first you must see what you draw.'" And that's exactly what I experienced in my undergraduate program in college during my first painting class. So I had this really awesome painting teacher. He could paint oil paintings. Down in the South, that's one of the funny words we say, you know, oil versus oil. But he could paint oil paintings in the photorealism style, and he was so good at it. So we were practicing still life paintings, and he would put us in groups, and we would have, you know, just a small setup in front of us to paint. And I was with a group of one or two other students, and we had apples in front of us, different colored apples, you know, a red, a green, and maybe one that was yellow, I can't remember. But as I was painting it, you know, I see it, it's right in front of me. Okay, so we're talking about seeing and looking and, you know, learning to see and all this stuff. So I'm looking at it, I've shared this story before, but it's just a really good one. And so I'm thinking it's a green apple. I'm going to paint a green apple. But for whatever reason, it didn't look realistic. And like, I don't get it. I know there's you know, the different gradients of light. I understand that there's highlights and shadows and all this. And so even when I'm trying to apply those in my painting, it still doesn't look real. So fortunately, the teacher's circulating the room, and he makes his way over to us, and he is so kind, and he's like, "Can I see your brush?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he takes it, and for the green apple, it was a fan brush. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those. I don't have one right next to me, but it's spread out literally like a fan, okay? And so he takes this side of the fan brush and he dips it in the yellow paint, and then over on this side he dips it in the blue paint on my palette, okay? And then as he starts to paint the apple, you know, he's kind of touching and rotating the brush and putting some yellow here and some blue here. And then as he goes, and I'm just really watching, I'm thinking, I don't get it. I understand that yellow and blue make green. I get it if you're mixing paint. But why would you not just mix it on your palette, see, and then just put the green on there? Well, he was showing me. So he was just, like I said, dabbing the separate colors on the painting. And then when he went back to blend, he didn't fully blend it out. He left some of the yellow and some of the blue. And it was like magic right before my eyes. I kid you not. It went from looking like a kid's painting that I did to like this masterpiece. And it was like, because I'm looking at the apple, I'm like, I don't actually see yellow where you put it, and I don't actually see blue where you put it, So at some point during my art courses, I learned that you can squint to intentionally blur things, and in doing so, it's kind of like it takes away the distraction of the details. Because when you're looking at the apple, you're going to see little nicks on it and little discolorations and things like this. You're seeing all these little details. And so the important details that you need to make it look realistic in a painting, which is mostly about color, they get taken for granted. Your brain looks at it and tells you it's a green apple, period. It may say it's a green apple with a bruise on the front, or a little nick taken out of the side, or with a stem, or whatever it is, but the color part registers as like a flat answer, okay? So when you squint your eyes, and you can do this if you're painting a landscape or whatever it is, like a field, or like, it's fall now, right? So I'm really excited. I have some years in the South we have kind of a drought in the summer, and then all the leaves just kind of fall off and die. You don't really get the pretty colors, but then other years there's sufficient rain that they'll actually stay on the tree long enough to change colors and be pretty. So I'm really hoping for that this year, but I'm not sure yet. So, but anyway, say you have all these different colors of fallen leaves on the ground, and you want to paint it and make it look realistic. Well, that's part of what you can do, right? You can squint, and when you squint, you lose the details, the outlines of everything, and the color differences come more into focus for you so that you can apply them on the painting. It's like magic. And so I had to be taught as an artist how to see, not just look, but how to see before I could paint what I saw. And so, yeah. So I asked a question at the end of my short video I made yesterday. It's like 21 minutes or something like that. And the question was, I actually didn't ask it verbally. I put it, in text at the end. It was, can you trust what you see? Okay. All right. So check this out. In Much Ado About Nothing, in this story, Shakespeare's story, Claudio was fooled by what he saw with his own eyes. Okay, as he watched what he believed to be the woman he was about to marry the next day converse with another man. And he felt totally betrayed. Okay, and he saw it. He watched this go down with his own eyes. And yet it was all it was all fake, false, right? So can you trust what you see? And the other thing is several other characters in the story heard things that were not so either. So deceit can work in so many ways and be so subtle and permeate so much of our human experience that unfortunately it takes going through a lot of experiences before we can learn how to see what we're looking at, how to hear what we're listening to. They're two different things. Okay, so yeah. Okay, I already shared that. Oh, so here's something related. Okay, so my daughter is learning how to spell. And instead of just spelling out words with letters, right, which they're doing that too in class, but she's also learning how to spell with the sounds and the gestures of the sound. So her teacher has created these cute little stories, which I love, related to every letter in the alphabet as they're going through this in class, learning the alphabet. So as she's learning this about the letter, she's taking the sounds and the gestures and applying that to spelling. And I think this is related to phonics, which is related to the Phoenician language, which is one of the first languages, right? So let me give you guys an example, because this is related. I promise. So one of her stories recently is related to an ox. It's a story about a fox and an ox. And I love how in this story, and even the song that they have that goes with it, they're practicing the sounds, how to pronounce the words, right? Which, looking back at my Southern accent with oil and oil, maybe I need to do that too. But hey, that's Southern dialect, right? I think it's called dialect. But so don't lose your personality. I just want to say that. Yeah, I don't want to go way off on a tangent there, but just, yeah, people that are for you are going to love you, so I'll just leave it there. But ox, when she's spelling that, instead of just saying, Mom, that's just OX, she says it's ox. It's like, like if you're the doctor or the dentist, ox. And then she crosses her arms for the X and says the X sound. So, so I love that right from the get-go. Because, see, I don't remember being taught how to spell and sound out words like that. Maybe I was, I don't remember. But just the different aspects of what it takes to spell and hear and say a word. See, she's getting the whole of it, right? And so I feel like as far as navigating life, it's like we aren't taught how to see and hear. And because of that, deceit is able to flourish. We're able to it's able to hide, rather, okay, from us. It's right in front of us, but it's hidden from us because we're not taught, all these specifics, right? And even learning how to squint and tune out certain specifics to see other specifics. It's like, this level of detection and awareness is, to me, what's missing and would save us so much, not just heartache, but mental damage. Because, our brains are affected. Our psyche, our ability to think is affected. And that's just one of many things that are affected, right? But yes. So, specifically, too, with regards to deceit, what matters is learning how to recognize the different but very real energies that are operating all around us, okay? So it's kind of like we're going into like what it means to have a gut feeling, or what it means to have and understand and be aware of your intuition, okay? So it's kind of like learning to ask yourself, learning to be aware enough in the moment to ask yourself, what kind of energy are you receiving from a person or a place? Because based on my experience in life so far, everything seems to give off an energy, projected energy. And as we are described in the Bible as vessels, we are capable of receiving this energy. But see, what happens is when you're not aware of who you are, just like in the Lion King, it says, remember who you are. When you don't even know who you are, to be or not to be, to know thyself is the highest goal, whatever it is, all these things kind of start flooding back and you're like, oh, now I get it. Because understanding that you are a vessel for energy, see, if you're not aware of this, then you're not going to put up a barrier and you're not going to implement discernment and tune into your intuition. Instead, you're just going to be this vessel that other people just flood their energy into, and maybe you don't want it. It's like being forced to take a gift, a bad gift that you don't want. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, think about babies. Our first language is energy. It is feelings. You can look at animals too. They sense. It's a sensing, right? It's kind of like we're described as humans as having 5 senses, but what about actually sensing? See? So this is the part that we have to learn to first become aware of, and then learn how to use it. See? Because animals do it automatically. It's innate within them. It's automatic. And babies do it too. It's just that we lose our way because the world, the system, this reality, doesn't acknowledge that as an actual sense. Sensing as an actual sense, see? So it just kind of gets forgotten, which is why we have to remember who we are, see? So I was talking earlier about watching a movie or reading a book. For me, this has happened a lot of times with reading a book and then going back and reading the book again, like down the road in the future. So I can look back in the past, I'm like, man, it was only, 2 or 3 years ago I read that book, and either I just don't remember any of it, or the impression it made on me was totally different, and it's like a surprising gift, reading it the second time. So it's always been books for me, but it may be movies for you or something else even. But the reason why, I was talking earlier about how the movie didn't change, the book didn't change, but we're the ones that change. It's like, why is that? It's because of something called resonance. We say something or someone resonates with us, right? What does that mean? Now we're going to start to understand this sense of sensing that we have, and how energy plays a part in that, and resonance is a part of that as well. So let's take a look at this. Okay. Resonance is from the Latin resonantia. I think I'm totally butchering that. I'm not even going to say I think I'm saying that right. I know I'm not saying that right. So, but this means an echo, which is hilarious because I'm just going with this message coming to me, and for whatever reason I've never consciously thought of resonance as an echo, and yet yesterday I had the problem with my microphone being on the echo setting, and I'm just like, this is hilarious. I love how God has a sense of humor to me. He absolutely does. And so yeah, so and then that word is from resonare, which means to sound again, like an echo, right? Or to sound back. So we're going to get a little bit deep into this just for a minute. This was a blessing to me, though, when I was receiving this message. And so I hope it's good for you in some way. So have you ever heard that saying, you get what you give, or what goes around comes around? It's kind of like this philosophical way of looking at life that, some people believe that whatever you put out there into reality or the universe is going to come back to you in some way, right? Which is encouragement to do good in the world. I get it. But what about those times when we pour and give of ourselves and all of the energy within us and the inspiration and the love and everything, this life force energy? What about when we are pouring all of this out of our container into another's container, and yet it for whatever reason doesn't feel like it's coming back in, even though you still feel like you're still good with God? It's like, why am I depleted? It's like it starts to, this is when we start to feel, depending on how long you are in this kind of a situation, you start to feel this spirit of decay, what I call the spirit of decay. but it's like a slow spiritual death is really what it seems like, right? So, and it's because the energy, for whatever reason, isn't coming back around. It's not. And so it's kind of like, why is that? And let me just pause here and say this. I have this somewhere in my, excuse me, in my notes, but I'm going to say this. Hang on, y'all. Water break. You know, we don't, those of us who, you know, value integrity, we don't get into relationships, friendships, anything for the purpose of getting something out of it. That's not why you do it. But I'm talking about this energetic exchange because based on what life has shown me, it seems to be a real dynamic at work in this reality energy, and the flowing and the fluctuating and the reciprocal nature. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay. Yeah, so think about that. The times in your life when you gave and gave, but it just wasn't coming back and you were just going downhill. Your health may have been going downhill, your heart for sure, and even your mind, you know. And if you want to look at this logically, you know, you may have had things like actual psychological abuse going on too. See, deceit, when someone deceives you ongoing for years and years and years, it affects you in such a profound way. And I'm not going to expand on this because I know if you've been through it, you understand. And you're probably not even at my channel and listening to this stuff if you haven't experienced this. But I'll just leave it at that because that's a whole nother huge topic. But I'll just assume that you understand what I mean. But as far as this energetic exchange and the way energy works, this is just what came to me. The reason why it's not coming back to you, okay, is because this flow, which is circular or cyclical, okay, cyclical, it's not coming back and refilling your vessel because it's working on a larger scale, okay? The universe or God is working on a more expanded scale. So I want you to consider this. This is from Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 through 24. It says, whatever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord, okay? And not to men, which is really important because we're thinking that we're doing this for this person. We're loving this person. We're giving to this person. We're dedicated to this person. We're, you know, pouring ourselves out. We're sacrificing everything for this person. But right there is an error. You know, we're supposed to be doing what we're doing as unto the Lord, right? He's supposed to come first. And I hope that you're able to still get something from the message, even if you have a different belief system than I do, okay? So the next part of this says, knowing, so if we do this, right? We're supposed to do this heartily as unto the Lord, whatever we do. Knowing that from the Lord, okay, you will receive the reward of the inheritance, which is a receiving. Inheritance means to receive, okay? For you serve the Lord Christ. Okay, so if this person or group or organization or whatever it is that you are pouring yourself into, okay, if they are not sharing this same spiritual signal or signature or heart or spirit, if they're just not in that same spirit with you, then it's like you're cut off from the community that is sharing this same spirit. Does that make sense? It's kind of like I'm here in my aquarium over here and I'm looking at it now. It's sort of like the water that cycles in the aquarium. Just imagine for a minute that when the tube that pulls the water up, the dirty water up to go through the filter, instead of it going through the filter and coming back in the aquarium, let's say it goes up the filter and just pours out the side into a bucket over here. Well, pretty soon it's going to get depleted. it's that water level is going to go down, 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 down till it's totally empty, right? And the fish are going to die and everything else. There's going to be death. It's just going to be a tank of death. That's kind of like our experience, see? So it's like it has to be operating all of these mechanics within this same system, okay? And what's really a beautiful paradox is that it's not actually a confinement type of system. It's to not be in this kind of a spiritual community is to be confined or in a container, contained, away and cut off, right? So this made sense to me. I hope this is making sense or getting the wheels turning at least for you. But think about it. It's kind of like in the Bible, as an example, it describes us as making up the body of Christ. So again, it's if you're cut off from others like you who share in that same spirit, well, if you're truly doing your best and giving your all, it's kind of like, it's not that God doesn't see that or isn't rewarding you. It's just that it's over here. It's over here. It's piling up over here. See? In the bucket, catching all the water. It's piling up. You just don't see it. You're actually over here in the tank, you know, getting depleted, and you're, you know, like, I don't understand this, you know, law or, you know, the dynamics of energy or whatever. It's not working. All these sayings, it's just, you know, it's just BS. I don't get it. And I'm, you know, I'm going downhill. My health's going downhill. My mind's going downhill. You know, what's wrong? You don't get, well, again, this person or group or whatever is not a part of this same system here. There's a difference in energies and spirits. And so this just made sense to me. I had to share it with you all. Yeah. And again, I don't personally believe that God works within the confines of our expectations, as I gave an example of, or even within a certain time frame. Okay, he's an outside the box kind of guy. Entity, being, you know, all means not confined. So there's that, or contained. So the reason I point this out is we're especially not going to see that water returned, or we're not even going to see. It's kind of like if you're water, your energy and efforts is water, and you're pouring into this over here, you don't ever see anything come of it, do you? It's almost like they're a bucket with holes, and so nobody's getting anywhere. But see, this is part of the con to me, based on what I've learned. This is part of the con, is to keep you doing this. And by doing this, you're enslaved. You're ensnared, see. You're being exploited so that this person may be living a double life or whatever, but there's some benefit. They want to keep you around, see. So that's the hook. If they know you're a giving and empathetic person, then that, for them, that may be the hook, that, you know, you like to help, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll always be in a position where I need their help. So you're just pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring, but there's always problems, there's always projects, there's always something they need, and you're just waiting for this person to be like healthy now, or good, or restored, or able to now help you a little bit or something, and it never happens. That's what I mean when I say it's like pouring into a bucket with holes. Okay, so you're depleted, and it seems like they've always been depleted, and you see what I'm saying? It's just not healthy. I wonder how many times I said, you see what I'm saying? I feel like that's just been my catchphrase today. I'm sorry. It's not a conscious thing. But spiritually speaking, the reason we're not going to see the fruits of our labor in this person is because they're a vessel too, but their vessel does not contain the same spirit. It's a different, polar opposite spirit over here, okay? And because of that, I'm going somewhere, promise. There's not going to be a resonance. There's not going to be, it's energy. So because this person this is how you kind of fine tune your discernment. Okay, there's nothing wrong with giving, but you don't want to give and give and give until you just die. So, I mean, physically, obviously, but even mentally, that's bad. And even spiritually, all of it, it's just bad. You don't want that. So, yeah, it's like they're just an island of nothing but sponges. I think there's real sponges in the ocean, right? Sea sponges. And they just soak up, soak up, soak up, soak up, but they've got holes. See? So it just, yeah. But, so there's your energy, your good and helpful energy you're pouring in over here. It's not there. It's not even staying there. It's just being used up and not appreciated, not returned, all this stuff. So there's no resonance there. Okay? And it's kind of like, this is probably a really bad example, but this is what came to mind, so I'll share it because maybe somebody out there, it'll be like just what someone needs. It's kind of like a battery or a magnet, you know, where you have to have these two parts to keep the circuit, I think it's called, going, you know, or the magnetism or whatever. It's like this, it has to be, there has to be movement both ways. And so that's not happening. It's just a one-sided thing, okay? So instead of gaining momentum and enjoying a life-giving and sustaining relationship, you're going to feel more and more drained. And again, it can get really, really, really bad, really bad. So, and they can even have real bad plans for you too. I've said that in many videos. I just want to put that out there too, in case this is the only video you've seen. It can be very dangerous, these people. Okay, so I've already shared that. We don't get into relationships for the purpose of receiving. We don't give expecting to receive. There's even a verse in the Bible that says, like, what good is it? You know, I think Jesus is like, if you give and you get something back, or he's saying if they give and then they get something back, then they had their reward. That's it. There's, you know, and see, that's just it. That's just it. We're expecting it to come, you know, because that's just, it's not that we're giving to get. It's just that I think sometimes it's an unconscious thing, and you're getting depleted and you don't understand what's going on. And in a healthy relationship, it is a give and take, and both people, I don't see it as both people giving 50-50. It's like 100-100, you know, but that's just it. Like I was saying earlier, what Jesus was saying, I think it was Jesus speaking in that example there. This is totally off my notes, which is why I'm trying to reel my mind back in. He's saying they have their reward. Well, our reward is if we keep our mind where it should be on this, first and foremost, is our focus, our rock, our stone, our spiritual stone, okay, that we're rooted and grounded in, that keeps us still and focused, okay, then we understand that it's not in vain. It's just that we're not in the right community. We're outside of, when we're engaging with people who there's red flags all over the place and it doesn't feel right, you're going against what, through the Christian lens, the Holy Spirit's trying to tell you to, you know, do. Like, don't, no. If you go against that, well, then now you're outside. It's kind of like, doesn't the word sin mean without? I think maybe, I could be totally wrong. But I'm thinking it's kind of like you're without now. You're operating without this. You're outside of the body of Christ. You see what I'm saying? Because of your own actions. And so you're not operating in the tank. And so your reward, I believe, is still over here, but it's, you know, you got to get back in the right place. It's you, it's me, it's us. Not the book will always be the book. The movie will always be the movie. This person will always be this person. Yes, people can change, but that's up to them and on them, not us. You know, that's a conviction that's between them and God. And so, and that's hard. That's hard, but you can't make it happen. You just can't. So, yes. So, it really is all about learning to see and hear, and maybe not, or I'm sorry, and maybe most of all, feel. And our feelings can get hijacked. That's where you have to, that's the refinement process to me, is learning to trust what you feel, learning to trust when you discern those red flags, learning to feel when it seems you have come out of the tank, right? Out of the community, out of the, you're not still within this life-giving, energetic community, spiritual community, where your soul is resonating with the others. When you're outside of that, then it's like on the path of spiritual decay. And I have personally experienced also mental and physical decay too. So, it just reminded me too of this verse. I don't know where it is, but it says, if thine eye be single, thy whole body will be full of light. So I know some people talk about the pineal gland and stuff, and I'm not saying that's not true. I think a lot of these verses are multi-layered in truth. They're both literal, actual, physical, really true. Not fairy tales or myths. I think they're literal. But I think it's like truth is truth at all levels, which is how I like to say that. But the way I see this, okay, when it says, if thine eye be single, then thy body will be full of light, it's kind of like, well, we have two eyes, right? It's a duo. If it's advising us for our eye, since we've been talking about sight, to be single, then that's doing away with duality, right? And I would say how to do that is that if you're looking at our options in life, first of all, denying that there's different energies is going to cost you. That's been my experience, because we're not all the same, unfortunately. A lie and a person who loves the lie is not the same as the truth. And a person who loves the truth and a person who seeks the truth is two totally different modes of operation and energetic vibrations. Totally different. So when it talks about if thine eye be single, when I say it's like you're cutting out that duality, what I mean is the system that you're operating in that has been so life draining has been a duality, a friction. And so to get rid of that duality means that you are in the space of the energies that are in resonance with yours. That's the life-giving space to be in, okay? Resonant vibes, your tribe, your people. And it's not that you wish anybody bad whatsoever. In fact, when you have love in your heart, you want everybody to experience it. You really do. And that hope can keep you stuck for a long time. But at what cost? See, because to lie is a choice. And so you have to get kind of tough with yourself, and understand that. It's sad, but it's a self-destructive spirit. It's a destructive spirit, period, is what I was trying to say. And unfortunately, it's not only destructive, for them or for you, but for both. And so for a lot of us, we're so committed and dedicated because we have such a strong sense of love within us that you know, a lot of us will stay in a bad situation, holding on to hope up until the point of, okay, if I don't leave right now, I'm not going to live, you know. And so I think that just getting the word out, you know, about your experiences safely when you can. It may be many years down the road. And it may just be, it doesn't have to be in a public way either. It could just be one-on-one with people, you know, as the universe or God sends people across your path. Maybe that's your opportunity to say what you feel called, and maybe that's just what they need to hear, and it might save a life one day. So I just want to share that too. I hope you enjoyed the message today. And I just thank you so much for coming along to hear it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you feel called to share them down below. And also, if you did watch both of those videos that I posted yesterday, or at least parts, bits and pieces of both, I'd love to hear your thoughts on one over the other, so because they're very, very different styles. So again, thanks so much. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.